The trauma bay at Coastal Mercy Medical Center smelled like antiseptic and adrenaline, the way it always did on a Tuesday night shift, and Dana Whitfield moved through it with the quiet efficiency of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. She was 34, her blonde hair pulled back into a tight knot, her scrubs immaculate despite the chaos around her, and nobody in that hospital knew that 6 years ago she had knelt in the dust of Helmand Province with a tourniquet in one hand and a rifle slung across her back, keeping men alive under fire that most people would never survive hearing about, let alone living through. She kept that life folded away, tucked behind her badge that read simply D. Whitfield, RN, because the war was over for her now, or so she told herself every morning when she clocked in. Tonight, though, something was different. A woman had been wheeled in an hour earlier, unconscious, her vitals unstable, and beside the gurney sat a boy no older than 7, clutching a threadbare stuffed rabbit, his eyes wide and hollow in a way that made Dana's chest tighten. His name was Eli. His mother was Captain Rebecca Hale, a Navy officer currently stationed overseas, and the woman on the gurney was Eli's grandmother, the only family he had stateside while his mother served. Dana had been assigned to watch over the boy while the attending physicians worked, and it was in that quiet corner of the trauma bay, away from the beeping monitors, that Eli tugged on her sleeve and pulled her down close, his small hand trembling against her shoulder. "He hurts Daddy when you leave," the boy whispered, so soft that Dana almost missed it, his breath warm against her ear. She pulled back and looked at him, her nurse's instincts sharpening instantly. "Who hurts your daddy, sweetheart?" she asked gently, crouching to his eye level. But Eli's face closed like a door slamming shut, his eyes darting toward the hallway where a tall man in a crisp navy dress uniform stood watching them, his posture rigid, his expression unreadable. "Nothing," Eli said quickly, too quickly, and buried his face in the stuffed rabbit. The man approached, introducing himself as Commander James Voss, a family liaison assigned to Eli's case while his mother's deployment status was being sorted out, and something about the way he said it, smooth and rehearsed, made the hair on the back of Dana's neck stand up. She had spent years reading men in combat, reading the microsecond flinches that separated a man telling the truth from a man performing one, and Commander Voss was performing. She said nothing, not yet, because she had learned patience the hard way, learned that jumping too soon in a hostile environment got people killed. Instead, she filed it away, the way she used to file away enemy positions, waiting for the moment to strike. Over the following days, Dana found reasons to check on Eli's grandmother, to linger near the family, to watch. She noticed the flinch in Eli's shoulders whenever Voss raised his voice even slightly. She noticed the bruise, faint and yellowing, on the inside of the boy's forearm, the kind that came from being gripped too hard by an adult hand. She noticed that Eli never spoke above a whisper when Voss was in the room, and that his eyes tracked the man's movements the way a soldier tracks an enemy's position, always calculating distance, always ready to run. When she raised her concerns to the hospital's social services department, she was met with polite dismissal. Commander Voss was well respected, a decorated officer, a man with commendations and a spotless record, and the woman at the desk suggested gently that perhaps Nurse Whitfield was reading too much into a grieving child's confusion. But Dana had not survived 3 deployments by trusting spotless records over instinct, and that night, after her shift ended, she did something she had not done in years. She pulled out an old contact list, names of men she had bled beside, men who now worked in places with a lot more reach than a hospital administrator's desk, and she began making calls. The first call was to a man named Marcus Cole, her former team leader, now working in Naval Criminal Investigative Service. The second call was to Captain Rebecca Hale's commanding officer overseas, requesting an emergency communication. And the third call, the hardest one, was to Eli's mother herself, patched through a crackling satellite line at 3 in the morning. Dana's voice steady even as her hands shook. "Captain Hale, my name is Dana Whitfield. I'm a nurse at Coastal Mercy, and I need to tell you what your son whispered to me tonight." There was a long silence on the line, the kind of silence that told Dana everything she needed to know. The silence of a mother who had already suspected something was wrong from 6,000 miles away and had no way to act on it. "Tell me everything," Rebecca said, her voice breaking despite the military discipline holding it together. And Dana did, every detail, every bruise, every flinch, laying it out with the same clinical precision she once used to report casualties in the field. By the time she hung up the phone, the sun was beginning to rise over the hospital parking lot, and Dana knew that she had just stepped back onto a battlefield she thought she had left behind for good. Except this time the enemy wore a uniform of trust, and the person she was protecting was 7 years old and had trusted her with the truth. If you believe some battles are worth fighting even when no one else will listen, hit subscribe right now, because Dana's war for Eli is only just beginning, and what happens next will remind you why quiet heroes are the ones who change everything. 3 days after that phone call, Coastal Mercy Medical Center received an unannounced visit that sent a ripple of quiet tension through every hallway. Because when a black SUV with government plates pulls into a civilian hospital parking lot, people notice. Marcus Cole walked through the automatic doors first, still built like the operator he used to be, his NCIS credentials clipped to his belt, followed by 2 more agents whose faces gave away nothing. Behind them, moving with the sharp authority of someone who had crossed an ocean in under 72 hours on nothing but a mother's fear, was Captain Rebecca Hale, still in her flight suit, dust from an overseas airstrip still clinging to her boots. She had not gone home. She had not slept. She had come straight from the tarmac to the hospital where her son was staying. Because nothing on this earth moves faster than a mother who has just learned her child has been suffering in silence. Dana was at the nurse's station when she saw them coming, and for a moment her heart caught in her throat, uncertain whether she had done the right thing or whether she had just detonated a career she had spent years quietly protecting. But then Rebecca Hale crossed the distance between them in 3 strides and gripped Dana's hand so tightly it almost hurt, her eyes red-rimmed but fierce. "Where is he?" Rebecca said, not a question, and Dana led her to the family lounge where Eli sat coloring quietly, his grandmother recovering steadily in a nearby room. The reunion was not loud. There was no dramatic sobbing, no collapse to the floor. Instead there was a mother kneeling in front of her son, taking his small face in both hands, and Eli looking at her for a long moment before finally letting the tears come. His small body shaking as 6-year-old fear poured out of him in a rush of broken words about Commander Voss, about the yelling, about the times he hurt Daddy's things and made Eli promise not to tell. It turned out Voss had never been an official family liaison at all. He had fabricated the assignment, forged partial documentation, and used a genuine but distant connection to the family, a former colleague of Eli's late father, to insert himself into the household during Rebecca's deployment, systematically isolating Eli and his grandmother while draining the family's finances and controlling every aspect of their lives through intimidation. Marcus Cole and his team had spent 72 hours building the case Dana's tip had started, uncovering falsified paperwork, financial discrepancies, and a disturbing pattern that suggested this was not Voss's first time exploiting a military family's vulnerability during deployment. When the agents moved to detain him later that afternoon, finding him in the hospital parking lot where he had arrived expecting to maintain his careful facade, Voss's composure finally cracked, his protests growing louder and more desperate as the reality of handcuffs replaced his polished uniform bearing. Dana watched from the hospital's front entrance, arms crossed, saying nothing, because she did not need to say anything anymore. The truth had done the talking. 2 weeks later, Coastal Mercy held a small ceremony in the hospital's main atrium. Not something Dana had asked for or wanted, but something Rebecca Hale had insisted upon with the same immovable determination that had gotten her across an ocean in record time. The atrium filled with hospital staff, curious onlookers, and a contingent of Navy personnel in dress uniforms, standing at careful attention. Commander Marcus Cole read a brief statement about the investigation's outcome, about accountability finally reaching a man who had hidden behind rank and reputation for too long. Then Rebecca Hale stepped forward, Eli's small hand tucked in hers, and addressed the crowd, her voice carrying the same steady command she used leading missions overseas. "There is a woman in this hospital who noticed what an entire system missed," she said, "who listened to a 7-year-old boy when trained professionals dismissed him, and who used every resource she had, including a past most of you never knew existed, to make sure my son was safe. That woman deserves more than gratitude. She deserves recognition." At that, Marcus Cole presented Dana with a Navy commendation, a formal acknowledgement of a service record she had kept private for 6 years, and as the room erupted into applause, Dana felt something shift inside her chest. Not pride exactly, but a quiet, settled peace, the feeling of a soldier who has finally, fully come home. Eli broke from his mother's side and ran to Dana, wrapping his small arms around her waist, and when she knelt down to hug him back, he whispered in her ear one more time, this time with a smile instead of fear. "Thank you for believing me." Dana Whitfield did not respond to that with words. She simply held him a little tighter, the way she once held wounded soldiers who needed to know someone was there, and understood that some of the most important battles are fought not with weapons, but with the courage to listen when a child whispers the truth. If this story moved you even a little, if you believe in the quiet strength of people who choose to act when others look away, subscribe to this channel right now, because every single week we bring you stories of hidden heroes just like Dana, ordinary people carrying extraordinary courage, and you will not want to miss what comes next.